Hola community, welcome to Blender Today Live. This weekly, bi-weekly, oh come on. That's a fantastic way to start. It was a special effect that I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those really cheap video cards. So I think that might have an issue. But hey, how are you? How are you doing? Besides waiting eagerly for this to begin, because there is a new Blender in town. Blender 5.1.1 got released just a couple hours ago, and it includes 71 fixes. Some of them crashes, some of them just think didn't work properly previously in 5.1. So if you're using Blender 5.1, you will I mean, you don't have to, but if you are running into any issues, then you may want to update it. It's was released today. It's available on all platforms, also on Steam and Microsoft Store, Snap, etc. Whatever you get your Blender, probably will appear soon. But you can always download it from blender.org. What else do I have to announce? Well, there is I'm not supposed to share this yet, but well, I am supposed to, but not yet, because the Blender conference tickets are almost ready to go on sale. However, they're not yet. We were supposed to do the announcement today, but Francesco is in Blender conference in North America, in Austin, and I think he forgot that today is a Tuesday. That is 5 p.m. over here, so it was yeah, just checking out. Like, hey, we should announce the tickets. So I think you will see them later, but something we can share though so far is the new identity for the Blender conference by Rocket Panda, a studio from Italy, I believe. Yeah, so that will be cool. There's a lot of nostalgia in it. There is some Blender thing is in there, but also I think the theme will be being connected together in place offline. So hopefully this will translate to the art. And that's it. I didn't nothing else. Blender 5.1. If you want to know if your bug fixes made it to the list, there is in the release notes of blender.org. Then if you go to 5.1 corrective releases, you will see the list with a bit more readable form. It's even sorted alphabetically, so all the crashes that are listed here, find the one that you think should be fixed, should be shown, and we'll make you update. All right, that being said, let's switch to dark mode for my computer to not blind you when I switch pages. Wouldn't that be nice? Even though I'm getting blinded by this sun in the Netherlands and the ISO shifting of this camera. I am building a fresh Blender here, so we use it, but I think we can already start to see what is new since in Blender today. For Alembic, new support for point cloud single values. Let's see. So Alembic, support point cloud single values, radius for import. When the widths aren't provided in the Alembic value, use a single value for the default instead of an entire array. Nice. A for animation. Allow auto IK reverse IK with non-connected parent. I think it's a mouthful, but it's easier to see here. So if you have for example, if this is the array, if these are all your bones, but this bone is not connected to the parent, then this should still work. See? Previously, this wouldn't work. This will look like, well, actually there is a video here, but previously it would look like this. Like this would still think it's connected to this for the auto IK, and it wouldn't work. So yay, nice. Rigging implementations, fixes, thanks to Paul Hanson. Nice. Haven't seen you adding features before, so good to see. And it's even a recent account. Nice. Cool. Next, A for assets. Wow. Well, these are related to online assets, which is experimental. However, it will be part of Blender 5. 5.2. Let's hope there's many things to fix. However, you can actually already use it if you know if you know a URL of an online asset, and if you know how to build it, which there's no documentation on it yet. But if you go to the chat where developers are discussing, or to the tasks, you can get some test libraries already. Like there is one with online essentials, which is being tested at the moment, and there is one with now the polyheaven. This one is broken, I think, this one online, but the online essentials, it's being worked on. However, let's not all go at once, just in case the server needs some, although this it's not seen by many people, so it would be a good test before the storm. Let's see. Right, I have a online asset library. This is coming from the internets, and I can, well, actually I showed you this before, right? But let's go to a render engine that looks somewhat nice, and let's see if I drag and drop, say, some metal bronze. Ooh, nice. It's pretty low, pretty dark here, right? Or is it because I am just getting, there you go. Maybe it's just too bright in my room. And then rust, almost, and then I don't know if I want metal rusted. Like, I think I just want rust in general, so then I can mask out these two. I want just full metal and full, well, this should be metal, full metal, and then galvanize even. Cool. Is it even working? No. Well, you can break this thing very quickly, actually. This is part of the feature that it's experimental, right? But online assets gonna be so nice. Ah, there you go. This is it. Maybe I should have used Eevee. There you go. This already looks so nice. Ooh. Even shifts a bit when I zoom in and out. Cool. Anyway, this is great. This is there's still some issues. Like when I drag and drop, you may have noticed there's like 2 error messages at once. There are crashes that the team is working on already. But what I actually wanted to show, that this week they added, so you can right click if it hasn't been downloaded yet. Ah no, this is an older version. I just compiled. Anyway, right click, you will get the download button, and on mouse over you can see there is an icon that shows that it's online, shows the online icon. Cool. Nice. Let's see. B for BLF, Blender font. So font handling. And this one, I've never noticed. I don't use this. I don't use accents in capital letters, for example. But it's been broken for a while. Like if you look at the pictures, this day and night. So on the top is how it used to be. Whenever this like an accent or umlaut, there would be on capital letters, they would conflict. Basically, there was no room for them. There's no room for umlauts, and now there is. Now they actually takes the actual height of the character and it places them on top. So nice. And of course for all the other languages too. Yay. Let's see what else. It's affixed by Campbell, I believe. Yes. Next, B4 BLI. All right, so all these functions, internal functions by Blender. This one, actually, the good thing, I keep reminding this whenever I talk about this weird functions, you know, it's very broad, but that's a good thing, because sometimes this gets used on geometry nodes, sometimes in regular nodes, sometimes in grease pencil, in curves, in calculating any kind of well, anything really, is math, or array operations. Like in this case, optimize a few index mask array operations. Roughly a 3x performance for copying and filling tasks. Copy, fill, and gather all now have implementations in the index mask. So anything that has to do copying arrays of any data, this should get improved. Something that used to take 20 milliseconds is now 3. Nice. So pretty nice. And these are functions that get used all over the place. There is a file used for the Power Math node as example. Nice. And an optimization that I mentioned last week. Let's see what else. Before build, nothing really big other than the CMake version now is the minimum is 3.2.1 has been bumped. So this affects mainly if you compile Blender locally and you have a version of CMake older than this, which most recent operating system have a newer version. The ones that might get affected are Ubuntu 20.04, so 6 years old, end of life already. I think Ubuntu, I think it should be end of life. 20.04, yeah, May 2025. So it's already a year old, and Debian 11. But this is only if you compile Blender, you can still run it. Let's see, clean up. C for Compositor. New node in town, object info node. This, or maybe I think I shared this one in last episode. Yeah, object info node. Yeah, no pictures. I think I even shared it in the chat. So the object info node and many other nodes are making its way into the compositor for unifying all platforms. Nice. The reason there might be some, I think I didn't highlight them, but there was some overlap in the commits that I'm sharing because the script that I had, somehow the time zone changed. So I usually get the commits from the day of the live stream until the next live stream at 12 in the noon. So I had a 2-hour delay. So I think we were looking at 2 p.m. up to 2 p.m. instead of noon. Nothing really changes. I think we may have missed some commits on the very first time I started doing this. So over a year ago. So it's not the end of the world. But now it's fixed. Next, C4 cycles. Bunch of things in cycles. Yeah, definitely this one. The DLSS kind of disguised by AppScaler tech. This was definitely mentioned last week at 2 p.m. I think it was just made it there. But this is an actual feature. Cast shadows for the world. Yeah, now the world has an option to cast shadows. Implementation is pretty much the same for light objects and follows the same limitations with regard to MIS. The option is in the world settings surface. The world volume does not seem to affect the scene lighting, and having an option under the surface makes the UI look better. Let's share an image. There you go. No, this is just a bug report. But yeah, it came up from Blender Studio. Cool. Nice. World shadows. Let's continue. E for Eevee. Fast GI. So resolve major issues. Fix the high C texture not sampled with the integer LOD. Fix ambient occlusion light leaking. Fix level of detail scaling with precision slider. Fix normals initialization when using tracing shader. Fix energy conservation and fix radiance reprojection. 2,400 lines of code added and 1,000 lines removed. This is kind of a big one. So if you had any issues with Eevee in regards of ambient occlusion, light conservation, light energy conservation, and radiance projection and so on, this should be fixed. This is so nice. So something that used to look like this, this. I guess it's better. Yeah, it looks more precise, as in especially in the corners. Yeah, a bit more soft too. So if you use that as a pass for compositing, then have a look again. But yeah, nice. Oh, this definitely looks better. Neat. Eevee getting so much love. I mean, there's so much love under the hood as well, with porting shaders to the Blender shading language. All right, a bunch of fixes, so many fixes. Many of them you're gonna get in already in 5.1.1. Some of them only are in 5.2. Yes, one thing I forgot to mention about Blender 5.1 is that I think there you go. Just to get your attention. I think I was just, if you were just listening, the camera went away. I think I just, when I do this on the desk. So 5.1.1, let's roll back. Blender 5.0 was okay. 4.5 is an LTS, so it has plenty of corrective releases. Blender 4.4, I don't know if you remember, there was 4.4.0, the initial release, 4.4.1, something broke there between the two. Something that was working fine in 4.0 broke in 0.1. So there was a new release, 0.2. However, that one never seen the light because immediately there was some crash and immediately got fixed. And on the same day, 4.4.3 was released. Anyway, this is to say that since then, since the incident of Blender 4.4, now only high priority bug fixes or things that they are really harmless, changes that are really okay, this is known to not cause any issues, are gonna make it into corrective releases. That means that, for example, if 5.1 had issues, but they were not critical, something like, okay, you can work around it, no data loss, no nothing super high priority, or just high priority, it wouldn't get added to 5.1.1. It would have to wait for 5.2. It will still get fixed, of course, but not as a main high priority issues. So yeah, if you run into these issues, remember that a week before these releases, there is a release candidate. And we shared on social media about this. So if you, and also as a rule of thumb, 1 month after the initial release, so let's say 5.2 comes out in July, well, in August, there is probably gonna be a 5.2.1. So in that time, if you reported a bug, if it got fixed and you think is really important for you to work in production in the next, and you need it in the next corrective release, then let the developers know. It's like, I need this for a production, for a big project, or I think this should really be high priority instead of lower priority, and at least to get the impression, because sometimes it can happen that very important bug fixes don't make it into the initial corrective release, and if you're working in a production that is going to use this Blender version for months, then, and the bug is something that is isolated and can be considered safe, just let users, developers know. All right, back to it. G4 geometry nodes. There are some optimizations, and there's a new node in town, which is confusing because it's called rename attribute node. So it's not like the node got renamed. It's a new node called rename attribute. And this one allows you to rename an attribute. So you can, it looks like this. You have geometry in, out, inlined, super nice. You can rename the whole thing, single, alt new, or a prefix, alt new. Nice. So renames an attribute or changes the prefix of many attributes. The internal implementation of the attribute remaining no longer is quadratic costs. Nice. Okay. Next. Geometry nodes, a new feature by removing code. Yes, so closures in geometry nodes now can be recursive. You can have a closure and a closure and a closure, and it will work. Actually, there was some code to prevent recursive closures because it could lead to a recursion. Basically, you Blender gets in a loop and it boom crashes. Not anymore, because since last year, since October, the geometry nodes evaluation itself has a limitation of how deep this can go, so there's no need to run into that limitation. So you have the limitation, the same limitation that geometry nodes has overall. So super nice. All right, how's the chat, by the way? I'm over here. I'm not ignoring you, just having a look. How much spam we have today? Not so much yet. Nice, good to see, good to see. All right, I'll keep an eye on it and then move on to see what else is new in geometry nodes. Optimizations. Hans has brought 2 optimizations. One of them pretty big. It's an optimization to the distribute points on faces node, which results on his computer, a CPU, a Ryzen CPU. It's about 6.4 times faster to calculate this in a test, generating 14 million points on 2 million triangles. Something that used to take around 800 milliseconds is now 120. It's crazy. And roughly a 3x performance improvement when generating 13,000 points with less. All right, that's pretty neat. Not bad. I would take that. 6 times faster distribute points on faces. There is another optimization, optimized point distribution for single value density. Results in roughly 1.0x performance improvement. Modest, but still an improvement. So nice, thank you. Let's see. G4 glTF. There's a number of improvements here. I'm not gonna go through them in detail, but import support extensions on accessor buffer views and buffer types, which I have no idea what it means, but if you're into glTF and the Chronos specification, you may be familiar with these things. Sort none by names, allow extensions to pass data without a suffix, and enhance performance of disabling viewport. Nice. Next, G4 Grease Pencil. Nice. Let's see. 2 features, both by Casey. 1, draw tool option for creating all curve types. I think this one I did mention it last week, but it doesn't hurt to say it again because it's a great feature. The draw tool now lets you choose between Bezier, all curve types, Cadmon, Rom, NURBS, under post-processing, the post-processing panel. So nice. And the next one is actually an implementation of a paper, a research paper. This is articulated dots render. This algorithm works by drawing the texture of extra dots on each segment, making the illusion that more dots have been created. Nice. The dots are rendered in reverse order so that when a pixel has a full opacity, it will stop calculating. All right, let's see how it looks. There's 3 placement modes: count, radius, and density. The points are placed in 3D world instead of 2D view space. It makes it so that the points will not change position when the camera moves. Nice. So this is how it looks. Count, you can set a count, a fixed count, radius, or density, you can specify density. Neat. That's so cool. So it seems to be even performant. The added points only exist for rendering and can be changed by modifiers. Point randomization is handled in a different PR. Nice. Cialo in Blender. Somebody recognized it. Yo, Cialo? Is that the name of the paper, right? Gens and yeah, Cialo, the next generation vector paint program. That's cool. So yeah, we got this in Blender. Are you familiar? Is it popular? I'm a bit lost. with all this? Let's see. Internalization, line art, make intersection lines follow face mark filtering. Yes, this one looks important, seems important. No picture, but in the description it says line art. Previously, line art wouldn't take into account the face mark when generating intersection lines, so now it will. So that means, for example, in structures, visual artifacts, in places like the mouth corner, that should go away, and that this fix will prevent filter faces from generating intersection lines when they shouldn't. Nice. So if you have any issues with line art before, intersection lines getting marks when they shouldn't, yeah, mark as in, you know, the silhouette and contour, all those from line art. Okay, next, M for mask. Speed up rasterization with more precise and faster bucketing. ADAS, the optimization king, is back with a 5% improvement in performance for masks. So this is a definition using SAT based triangle. Too long didn't read, 5% improvement. Nice. And there is more details here in frames per second. Neat. So on PC, on Mac, there's not as much difference. Oh, it's about the same. So although Mac's much faster, I guess it's an M4 Max against a Ryzen. Yeah. Okay, next. Awesome, thank you, Aras. M for mesh, parallelize sampling utility functions. More performance improvements by Hans. This affects places that don't have threading from another source, namely the distribute points on faces node, which becomes over twice as fast. Wait, so it was 6 times faster in the other commit. Then it got an extra 0.05%, and now it says twice as fast. And they're all in different times, so I assume it's just orders of magnitude faster now. So thank you, Hans. Let's see. Somebody in the chat was asking about global undo, and there just happens to be a change in global undo test. So maybe, although this is our testing, so the test, as in the ones that Blender runs every night or on demand to check that things work. So if things are not working, maybe report it, or just check if it's still broken, because apparently they are working on it, although this is just a testing, or maybe now that with the testing they can make sure that it doesn't break, or that they have a test that covers your case. That's even better. If you can report it and have an odd issue, that can become a test to make sure that it doesn't break in the future. Next, and for Node Wrangler, 2 changes in Node Wrangler. The reset nodes operator now, well, it used to behave a bit inconsistently, and now that has been fixed. The operator will run on selected items only. The selection exists, the operator will show up. If there are no valid nodes, then you get a warning. One operator is removed, the reset nodes in frame operator, but for that you can just select the children objects of a frame before. And another addition to the Node Wrangler add-on is swap node. That operator that is built in Blender now supports the attribute menu from Node Wrangler. That was only visible in the add menu, but not in the swap menu. So nice. This is a menu that is like for convenience. It's not new nodes, it's nodes with specific settings. So it's, yeah, convenience nodes. Well, and for nodes, let's see the nodes. Bunch of changes, UI, and just mostly UI. Preserve pan and zoom levels when switching node groups. Yay, that's nice. Quality of life improvement. So now when you switch between nodes, so say you're somewhere in place and then you go to another node, you are in different zoom levels and position. If it looks like nothing changed, that's good. That's because you don't get lost, basically. Because before this, the view would be global. So it would mean that if you were zoomed in just for this node and then you go out of the group, you would be zoomed in somewhere in whatever happens to be in that place. Not anymore. That's so cool. Now you're not gonna get lost, basically. If I didn't explain myself, this is what would happen before. So you go, you zoom in the group outputs, and then you're somewhere at the same zoom level, but somewhere else. So it's hard to keep track of things. Nice. The same concept has been added to in another commit in the UI section. So I'm not going to talk about that yet. Another UI change is that the group node width will now take the same width as the node you're making a group. When you only do one node, when grouping one single node, the width will be copied over. Yeah, because sometimes you have a super wide node because it has a bunch of labels, or you want to preserve that in the group. Next, last time actually, we did talk about many of these no-op defaults, or what should be the defaults for nodes. And Habib has made a bunch of changes in there. No-op defaults for vector math node when using link drag. So the vector math node defaults now will be no-op, as in no change when you just add it. And here are more details on what are the actual changes. Then the same, some defaults for the integer math node that make sense. So the first and second inputs will be set to 1. Just basically changes so it doesn't make any change. But I mean, I guess we discussed this last week and there were mixed feelings. In this case, I guess if when adding a node that has no changes, we can prevent the node tree from being calculated, then that's fine. Then it's a good thing. Next, default for vector math node depend on operation. And similar to the other one, reasonable defaults depending on the math operation. And hopefully you are not going to notice these changes because they are going to be invisible, since nothing will change basically. What will change though, it's Quackaruni. I don't know if you remember, in the last or 1 or 2 episodes ago, there was a new node called image info. You get the resolution and the size, and that's like a vector, right? You get the height and the width. It's a 2D vector with, it's an image, so you make it in pixels, but the node wouldn't show you neither x, y, neither nor pixels, the unit. Now it does, thanks to Quackaruni. So there is a new subtype in the group sockets. When you select subtype, now you can set it to pixels. So a pixel will show the px next to it. So that's it. Not really rocket science, but it makes it more clear, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with pixels. So that means that if I change render size, render dimensions, I have to take that into account. I have to use in the compositor maybe something that is, the relative to pixel node or so on. And that's awesome. And the other change is that, the XY set. However, this is in a different patch I will show later. Okay, O for outliner. Outliner. Okay, this one this has been requested for a long time. This is actually a request from right click select the website. So let's see. Outliner, automatically scroll active element into view. Have you ever run into this situation where you have a node tree that has, let's see, so you have an outliner, and now when you select an item, Blender would highlight it in the outliner automatically, so you are always aware of what's going on. This, however, is not the case when well, no, it's always the case by default. However, you can disable that behavior. That is an option called sync selection. So if you don't have sync selection, let's say I have a bunch of monkeys. So let's duplicate this multiple times. So I have a bunch of objects, right? So if I have if I have this, then whenever I change selection, the outliner will jump to show me the active selection. It's nice, you don't get lost. If the item is in the view, the UI is not going to jump, right? If it doesn't need to jump, for example here, it just doesn't jump. And if you want to not have that behavior, you just click on sync selection, you disable that sync selection, and then you can select basically things from here that are out of view and they're not going to be selected. That's it. Now, question. Somebody in the, oops, I have to stop hitting the desk. Oh, I think I hit it hard this time. Oh wow, no, it's really hot. Maybe it's the okay, this is fun. Let's try putting it in a different USB. So in the meantime, let me try to make this work. So let's see here. That's my roof. And this, hey, oh, it's back actually now. There you go. Upload the studio. Yeah, I know. Sorry. It's that I like, you have to see it. Like, maybe I can show you. I can show you the crappy with the Capri camera. This one is the 7. This is a really old camera. And this one. There you go. This is me. So look at what I'm dealing with here. It's one of those that don't even have a brand. They just say like yeah, like video capture, and then something in a language that I don't understand. So hey, we're trying our best here, but let's go back to a better setup, or at least there you go. Here, let's pretend we are fancy. It's an open source software. We are limited in our resources. Let's see. Anyway, this is the outliner change, and I hope you liked it. Also, yeah, I wanted to mention that somebody in that patch mentioned the need for splitting this to keep sync selection separate from the, how do you call it, scroll to active, scroll into view of this behavior. Do you think they should be separate settings? Remember, adding separate settings is not free. Well, it's free. Blender is free, but it's not free as in it takes time to implement. Things can break. It takes space in the menu, and it adds more data to your blend file. Every time you save, you need to save one more preference, right? You need to add some. It's not huge, not a lot, but it adds a little bit more. So it should be, it's more to translate, it's more to keep track, it's more to the manual. It's like every feature adds overhead. Blender blog. Nice, thank you. They seem like two different things, so probably yes. Outliner does often randomly open the tree structure. That would be great if it doesn't. Well, that's not like a bug. This camera gives me a Blender disaster movie. Yeah, it is. Does anyone knows how to set up a Blender? Okay, now this header now. Ceiling cam. Yeah, when I don't use the camera, I move the I make it point to the roof. Nothing wrong, right? I have it over here, so I just make it point to there. Okay. Let's see. What else is new in Blender today? We have Python stuff, not really remarkable, refactors, release tools. No, let's talk about UNI, user interface. Oh, this is the feature that I mentioned before. It's the same concept of keeping and preserving the zoom levels, but this time and the position, well, yeah, position and zoom levels, but in images, in the image editor. Also super important, because maybe you have a render that you want to look at a very specific place, and then in a different image you want a different zoom in, right? So here, for example, you're zooming in a part of this render, and then you switch, and then you're somewhere else, you're lost. Where was I? Or you want to make sure that an image is always 100% zoom, and then another one not. So yeah, super nice. Let's see. Thank you, Habib. Node Wrangler. Use layout panel for preferences. This is a small UI change, but welcome one. So I think Quackaroni was just working on the Node Wrangler add-on, and he noticed how not only the Node Wrangler, but many add-ons do this, which is so... I mean, it's not their fault. They are limited in the resources they have, which is using a toggle property for expanding and collapsing things. Blender, for already many releases, have a thing called layout panels. I mean, Blender had panels for a while, but now there can be layouts. They can be inserted anywhere. So this change makes it look like that. So small thing, but you know, maybe if you have an add-on that uses this kind of ugly toggling using properties, then maybe you can have a look at how Quackaroni did it to copy to your add-ons. Okay, next. XYZ level labels to array properties, another one by Quackaroni, and it's what I just mentioned before. So previously you would have 2D, 3D, or 4D vectors without any label, which, I mean, I guess you kind of know, you kind of guess, okay, this I must be X and Y, or in this case, maybe it could be 1 or 2. But if you set the subtype, then in this case, if you set it to pixels, for example, then you can add X, Y, Z, etc. Nice. Next. Mesh edit mode. Only show to circle in mesh edit mode because it doesn't work in object mode. Okay. Next one. By Guillermo. Show category tabs even when there is only one active. Yes, so for discoverability, the tabs or the sidebars that can handle multiple tabs, even when they only have one tab, it will show for context, because Blender used to hide them by default, so you wouldn't have wouldn't take space. But it's better for discoverability, and especially if you have it's weird to see sometimes a tab and sometimes not a tab. And if there are more options coming to tabs, which there might be soon, it's better to expose them. Oh, this one, little quality of life by... Actually, it's from an right-click select post. Somebody mentioned this, that when you had the shape keys list, the number here, the slider, will take so much empty space around it that it will trim the actual name of the shape keys. And that has been fixed. This is a fix by Pratik. So what used to be like this, that it will get cropped too early, now actually goes all the way and the number only takes space that it needs. So nice. Next. Small detail also, the new image operator now only shows the color picker if there is actually something in it. So the video doesn't work and there is no thumbnail, no image. However, the next change by Sean Kim is the exact same thing, however applied to the image editor and the 3D viewport for adding new new texture slots, new paint slots. So this is how it looks when this is the PR. So when you have a blank type that you can actually define a color, then show the color. If you have a other type of image like a UV, doesn't make sense to show the color. So it doesn't. And the small thing they did also is to make not have the alpha awkwardly placed in between these two, but actually after the color. Nice. Let's see. Next. Quality of life improvements. That's another also from right click select. So you see your right click select posts are not for nothing. They sometimes developers that such as Pratik, such as Quackaruni, such as Harley is also hanging out there. Yorun is hanging out there as well. I've seen them. I'm there every day. So yeah, mainly removing spam, but I hang out there. Okay, so this one is super simple, and I don't know how I wasn't there before. So the right click select post was color inheritance for new collections. Say you have a collection that is yellow and you make a new collection, you wanted to have the same color as the parent, right? To take it from the parent. That is now done. So this is how it works. I mean, ideally you're not going to notice, but when you create a new collection with the active collection having a color, the color will be applied to the children, to the childs. It used to always default to white. So yeah, nice. And another one, super small. I noticed the other day that the collection panel, which has been there since 2.8, it never showed icons. So this is the actual collection name. Even you can rename a collection from here, which is a bit awkward. I don't know if this should be the place because it's a bit awkward, but it's there. And you know, if people are doing it, this should. I believe that this should only be the place where you assign collections, not renaming. We should keep. It should be one place for these things, because then you can handle it better. You can handle renames, colors, right? Like, then why can I set the color also from here? But then you have two places. You have the collection tab, three places, the outliner, and this. So anyway, now there is an icon. So now you can actually see at a glance if the collection has a color. Nice. Such a small thing. Let's see. This didn't come from right click select. This I just posted it on the chat, and Pratik was awesome to do it. And actually anyone could have done it, because it's all in Python, this panel, most panels in Blender. So it wasn't really, I mean, not taking credit, is still you need to know a few things, but overall you can actually guess these kind of things. And it's fun also. I find it super fun. You know what's not fun? When the UI is bloated with things that are not really relevant. So in Blender there is this unwritten, yes, I think it's unwritten rule. Maybe we should write it down. But when to gray out something and when to hide it completely. The overall consensus is, if the option is in a menu, in an enum, then hide it. If it's a boolean, like a checkbox, then always show it. It's not consistent everywhere. But anyway, there was a bug report. Actually, somebody considered this a bug report, that even though you are in a different in a pattern, in this case in cycles pattern, that has options that don't apply to this pattern, why is it showing? So yeah, this person considered it a bug report, reported it, and is now fixed, even though it's something completely visual. So anyways, let's see. OBS is cropped in the stream. Is it? What do you mean? No. Well, it's actually not even shown because on macOS and on Windows, unfortunately not for Linux. Something I don't like about, I mean, I love OBS, but something I don't like, and I hope, and we shouldn't do in Blender, we shouldn't follow in Blender, is that there are features that are only on some operating systems and some not. It's crazy. You learn a software in one operating system and then you go to Windows or Mac or Linux and you don't see the features there. So annoying. Blender shouldn't do that. We should always try to have all features when possible in all operating systems. The clipboard, copying an image to clipboard, is one of those, and I'm not proud of it, but it doesn't work on X11 Linux, only on Wayland Linux and Mac and Windows. All right, next is a bug fix, actually. The auto scrolling in menus. Do you know that? Is when something doesn't fit in Blender, right? You can move the mouse or to the bottom of that menu and Blender will scroll. However, this was very eager, and even if you had the mouse over the other corner of Blender, this would still be scrolling. And now you can see that it's only in the bounds of the popover or the menu, which is so nice, because otherwise it seemed like, yeah, it was a bit too eager to zoom in for me, even though I didn't want to. I think I can show it here. This is 5.1. And I scroll and then I move the mouse so far away and it was still working. Yeah, not great. You see, you have the mouse in somewhere else. Anyway, it's fixed. Thank you, Guillermo. And thank you, Philip, for the previous one. U for UV. Add the limit seam to select linked operator. More the limits. So we're now seeing not only in mesh edit mode, but in seam, UV seam. Add the limit seam option to the select linked operator and select link pick in the UV editor to allow you to delimit by seam, sharp, material. So nice. Thank you, Ethan. And let's jump into the last section. VSE, Video Sequence Editor, has 3 changes. One of them is snapping. More options for snapping image origins in the preview. Previously, origins could only be snapped to specific points in a 3x3 grid overlay on the image. It was useful, but there are some situations where we might want a pivot rotation or scale about the preview origin, borders, or the image bounds. So this has been addressed, and actually it makes the code so much simpler too. So more options, less code, yay. Next. Prefetch several frames before current playhead. This also, I've seen this on right-click select. I'm not sure if we are linking to it, but actually I've seen this requested on right-click select. It's a bug fix by, well, bug fix is an improvement by Aras that goes as this. While editing footage, it is quite often that you need to move just a bit backwards from the playhead. Adjust the prefetch logic so that it starts prefetching just a bit before the playhead, about 5 frames. Well, no, exactly 5 frames. So when you are, when you scrub, you have a little wiggle room there. Nice. And the right-click select proposal did just that. And the last change of the week, of the episode of today, is that the render audio, the mix down operator job, basically when you run it, now has a progress bar. It used to lock Blender completely, show you a great bouncing ball or whatever, hourglass, I don't know what It's shown in other operating systems. But yeah, not anymore. Now it has a progress bar. So thank you, Kevin, for working on this. And that is all for this week, this episode. Are there any questions? How's the chat doing, by the way? How are you all doing over here? Let's go to blender.community. Let's see if there's any. Yes, there is a new blog post, and let me edit your post, breaking all kinds of privacy. Sorry, for the sake of Blender. And I'm copy pasting all the changes so people can have a look at the what I was showing over here. So I'm gonna zoom in and then scroll all the way down. How many comments we have? 7. I can do it. I can do it. First, Jackie Rocky asks, I would like to brute force it. Wait. How? Why? Okay. Actually, the first comment, I think it might be connected to this, no? Yes. Okay. The first one actually said, Hola Pablo, did you get an answer to if Eevee will get texture cache? I hope the min maps will be controllable like in-game engines, is on control, compression type. Yes. Yeah, so I asked Clement actually, and he said that it is possible in the simplest case, but not in all cases. So I wouldn't lose faith there. But yeah. So it should be. Let's see. No, it's a reply actually. Yeah, because I don't see it because the line here this is the first comment. These are the replies. Okay, cool, nice. Thanks, Nambabut, for replying. And these are all replies too. This is it. Finn, hey Pablo, hope you're having a great day. A few weeks ago, someone asked something similar, but I don't think you got the main point. I bet I didn't get the main point. Will there be any option for creating geometry nodes without recompiling Blender? Currently, there is no way. Yeah, so scripts, you mean? That makes it harder to add custom geo nodes, as new nodes need custom branches and builds. That would make Blender more attractive for physics simulation developers. Yeah, not via Python or C++ as far as I know. However, with the building blocks, you could get far. But yeah, no, not that I know. It's basically like a C API just for GeoNodes. Yeah, no, I don't think. No, not for the time being. And the last one. Oi, Pablo, I was missing a bunch of streams. Yes, I was having BlenderToday withdrawals. Let's say my feature needs a little UI dropdown in material or render settings. Are there any unspoken best practices that should be followed? Okay, let's say my feature needs a little UI dropdown in material or the render settings. Well, whatever it is in Blender, there are the same rules apply. So for a dropdown, not really actually. I mean, dropdowns are pretty straightforward. Let's say you have a dropdown like this. You want to make sure that if you have too many options, that they are filled, they have enough. Let's see, here we go. That they have, like, they are descriptive, not too long labels, title case when you can, split it in sections, in separators when possible. And if you were to add an icon, only add an icon to the first item of the list. Don't add icons to everything, because too many icons just get lost in the get lost. Usually the icons are on the first item in the list, but sometimes they can be dangling around there. Yeah, you try to use icons that are used in other places. For example, here delete all has the X. It could use a trash, or it could use a minus, right? Minus is often used for one item. X is used for everything. And the trash is usually for purging. When you're gonna purge and use data, or we use a trash icon in the outliner in data AP, no, in Blender file, Blender file, or unused data, purge. Oh, we don't even use it here. Where do we use the trash icon? Oh, what is the name of the trash icon? I think it's called trash. Yeah. And we can actually, I'm just curious. I mean, it's the end of the show. Let's have a look. Where is it used? Let's go to Blender. Let's search Blender for let's do icon trash. Okay, so it's GeoBake in the bake operator in the recent files. Ah, yes, to clear the recent files. And so if I go to Blender, open recent, yeah, we use the trash icon there. Good. And that's it. Or maybe it could also be like this if we are using this in other places, maybe in Python. Yeah, light probes, use a geometry node scene for the cache. Okay, and delete fix to camera keys. This is the global add-on, yeah, the copy global transform. And if someone actually used it with the wrong quotes, it should show up here, but no, it's fine. Awesome, there you go. Now you learn how I check for icons in Blender, icon usage in Blender. It's not really rocket science, just search for the icon in the code. All right, let's see. Is there any new comments that I missed? And that was 7, 8 comments. Yo, Pablo, Tialo in Blender is awesome news. Awesome, thank you. How was it? How was the date for you today? Let's see the chat. All good. 6.3 Blender 6.3 added what? 6.3 doesn't exist, people. Yet it will exist eventually, and not yet. It will be the release after the 6.2 LTS. But yeah, no, it won't exist there. So all good. We didn't have any spam yet. Oh, Harry Blends is here. Hola, Harry. That's it. Nothing else. Publishing a real one. Real what? Real mess with this stream today. We had some issues, some technical issues. I started late. But yeah. Blender 6.7 UI is now a hologram Iron Man theme. 6.7 doesn't exist. It's only 6.5 and then Blender 7. If we follow, I hope we stick to the current schedule. Or should Blender move to use years? Like Blender 2025, 2026? That's boring. How do you communicate a big change otherwise, right? If you use the year. Yeah. Blender liquid glass when? Never. So silly. I hate liquid glass, and I regret the day I upgraded macOS to 26. It's so nice. If you're still on macOS the previous 18, keep it that. So much nicer. So much better use of space, more readable, more beautiful. Anyway, I'm ranting here. Let's meet again next. What is the next time? It's gonna be the end of the month, right? On a Tuesday 28. Oh, the day after King's Day. You know what is King's Day in the Netherlands? It's especially in the whole country. The whole country is something like this. So you can imagine that involves a lot of activity. So the next day you're gonna see me falling apart. 28th of April. And that's it. And then we are in May. And then June is the beta for Blender 6.5.2. And then July the release. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see. Let's meet again next episode in 2 weeks. Same place. About the same time for another Blender Today live. Watch your ear holes. It's not even that loud, is it? Okay. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you. Happy blending. Bye.